Hello and welcome back to another episode of Crafty Christie's Creations how-to videos. Today we are going to be working in Silhouette Studio and I'm going to show you how to use DXF files that you would download from the internet. A couple settings that you want to make sure you have correct. So let's go over here to our settings and your import tab. Your DXF files you want to open as is. The file I'm going to be showing you is the Merry Christmas card, and you want to make sure that this file opens the correct size. Otherwise, you will have to resize the card, which would make things a lot more complicated. Another good one to know is under Defaults. You want to click this Cut to Edge of Page. That way you don't have that little gap around the edge for cutting. Alright, now that we have those settings, we'll go ahead and open. And like I said, we're going to do the Merry Christmas card, and I'm going to use the DXF version. And here's what it looks like. So DXF files only show up as lines. So there's some work that we have to do to get it ready to send it to the cutting machine. So right now, if you look at this, these little spots are supposed to be cut out of our card base. But right now as it sits, I can move those pieces around. And if I were to add color, it does not recognize that these are supposed to be a compound path. So we're going to turn this into a compound path, and then it'll change that. So I'm going to hold down and select all of these things here, and make sure you don't get the Christmas part. And then I'm going to right click and make compound path. Now it turns it and it knows that these areas are supposed to be cut out. Okay, and this line is our score line. Okay. And I'm going to grab just that line and I'm going to turn it white, the line white, just so I can see it a little better. And I like to make my score lines either white or blue. You want to make them a different color from your outline color of everything else, so when we go to cut, we can differentiate. So now to keep that score line there, I'm going to select the card and the score line, and again I'm going to right click. This time I'm going to group. You could also go up here, this is group, this is ungroup. So now I'm going to take that and I'm going to move it to the side. Next, I'm going to make a compound path out of Christmas. Again, make sure you get all the little holes in all the letters. And I'm going to right click, make compound path. And now I'm going to fill that in. I'm going to do this gray color. This little box here, I'm also going to do gray. That's your area to write your sentiment. No, that's not gray. Colors that you pick don't really matter. I do that just to make it easier on me when I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to be cutting. And then these two, I'm going to hold down Shift while I select the other one, or you could click and drag to select. And I'm going to make both of those green. This larger layer will go behind our Merry word, and the smaller layer will just be layered on the inside of the card. Okay, now that we have everything made into compound paths, we are ready to send to Silhouette. So remember, it's going to cut anything that's on your mat. So I like to do one color at a time. And I'm going to show you with this one because this is the most complicated piece. Now if I go to send, and we're going to send this by line color so we can differentiate what we want it to do. So for the black line, I want it to cut, and the white line, I want to score. So that will do your settings there. Notice it does your ratchet. And so you want to make sure that you change your ratchet blade to match what you're doing, or if you have the auto blade, it'll do that for you. Personal preference, when I'm scoring, I like to use 0. You don't have to make any changes in the Silhouette Studio. You just make the change to the actual blade. I have found that even using 1 on the blade for some of my cardstocks, that is still too much and it will actually cut through. And then if you go back up here and you click on your first color, I'm going to add a pause in between. That gives me time when it's done cutting out the top piece. That'll give me time to change my blade settings, and then I can go back down to the bottom and hit resume, and then it will do the score line. Alright, that is how you set up everything to send. When you have it all right, you have everything loaded into the Silhouette and you're ready to cut. Go down here and hit send. I'm going to open up here. As you can see, I'm already on. I'm going to feed this here. I'm lining up my dots with the edge of my mat, and then I'm going to hit load cut mat. And now we are ready to start, and I'm going to hit send. And now it's going to start cutting. Okay, so we have all of our pieces cut out, and we are going to go ahead and assemble everything. This is our red piece. We've got our score line here. I'm going to go ahead and fold that down. And we'll just burnish that a little bit. That part's good. And then the larger of our 2 green pieces is going to go in the inside here, and it's going to match up perfectly. I'm going to put my tape or my glue down on this piece so I don't show any through the openings. And I'm just going to use my tape runner. And then I am going to put some liquid glue on the letters just so we get it all glued down nicely. Okay, that looks pretty good. And this is going to go edge to edge, top to bottom. I'm going to fold this piece up so I can get that put into the crease. And lined up nicely. Once you have that where you want it, go ahead and press everything down. Alright, that looks pretty good there. Alright, and the inside, this one's going to go here, and there will be a little edge around it. I'm getting these little pieces on mine. I think I'm due for a new blade. So you can either pull those off or you just kind of push them towards what's going to be the back side of your paper. I'm going to go ahead and put some tape runner on this one. And like I said, you're going to have a nice border all the way around. And then our final piece, this is the piece, we'll also have a border all the way around, and this will be the piece that you can write on or stamp or whatever you need. And there'll be a nice border on this one as well. Okay, that's the inside. And then I went ahead and tripled up this piece off screen. And I'm going to use some liquid glue on the back. And that'll set right about there. So I am just making to get a good amount of glue, but not too much so that you don't end up with glue smears everywhere. Another trick you could use, you could try using some double-sided adhesive, like stick it before you cut it. You might have to adjust your cut settings a little bit, but that is also an option so you don't have to sit here and glue intricately little pieces on. Another thing I did, I went back, when I cut this out, it didn't cut that great. I think part of it is my blade's dull. But I went back and increased the force and also turned on the overcut, which is the little box that you can check that has little slashes coming out all the corners. So I put that on there and it just helped cut, especially for intricate things like this, it helps it cut just a little bit nicer. Boy, I got glue all over this. Thankfully it will dry clear, and then I can use my little glue eraser here and come in and remove the glue. But there is the card. That is not glued. I'm gonna set this on there for a minute and let that kind of hold down. And I went through and I went ahead and printed out the envelope out of 12 by 12 paper. It's already scored, so we're gonna go ahead and fold this up as well. This piece here is gonna be your top. So the score line's on there, and you're gonna fold towards the inside. Okay, so you can see how that's going to go together. And then this one will fold down. I think I'm going to use some liquid glue on this as well. Sometimes liquid is just a little easier. So I'm just going to put a little dot of glue here, fold that over, give it a second. Put some glue here, and then because I know my edges are gonna go up, and now I folded it up so I know where that glue is gonna be, and then I can go along my edge like that, and then you just don't go past where your little glue smudge is, and then you won't get anything gluing the inside of your envelope together. And then there's your envelope. Now if you were going to mail this to somebody, you can put some, I've got this Crafty power tape, and it's permanent super high tack tape. And then what I'm going to do is cut some off here. I'll put it right here. And then when I'm ready to send this, you just peel the back off and stick it down, and that should do the trick. You can also do the edges here if you need to. But that should be good and dry. a little maneuvering the first time you put this card in here. So just be careful with the edges until it gets used. You have to maybe do it a few times to really get it used to being in there. Kind of work the edges a little. Now this time it'll be a lot easier. There you have it. So if you have not already purchased this card and envelope, you can do so at craftychristiescreations.com or head over to my Etsy shop at craftychristiesshop.etsy.com, and that's where you will be able to find the cutting file to make this card. It comes in SVG, DXF, EPS, and PNG form. Well, thanks for watching. Until next time, with love, Crafty Christie.